When I sat in the car, you always wonder, what's it going to feel like? It was my first time driving a mid-engine GT car. My thoughts were, wow, this is really good for our first time in a car. I was really surprised by it. You're sitting low, you got the A-pillars at steep angles, the windshield's at steep angles, you can see the fender flares. I think we have a chance to win. Everything's got to go right, but I think we have a car that can win the race or be on the podium. But can you imagine how cool that would be to go back 50 years later to the year and do it?
Hello everyone and welcome to V8's Online's live coverage of Thursday night IMSA. You're joining us for round 6 tonight, bringing you coverage from Lime Rock Park here and really looking forward to the action of this one. Jay Kennedy and alongside me once again, Bo Albert in the commentary box. G'day Bo, welcome along.
Hey guys, happy to be back for another IMSA race. They've always been so unpredictable this season, but I don't think any round is going to be quite as crazy as tonight's. Lime Rock Park, it might only have 7 corners, but this track packs a punch at every single one. None more so than the terrifying Turn 5, where these cars will not just be getting light over the crest, but they'll be taking full-blown flight. I was in a practice session just before with some of these competitors, and not a single one of them lifted as they exited that fast right-hander, so be sure to hang around tonight because there'll be plenty of hang time to be seen.
Yeah, it's going to be a really entertaining race. Cannot wait for it. I'm absolutely surprised that we're racing at this track. I'm still quite amazed that we're here for this series, but I'm really looking forward to it. The times have been ultra quick too. Realised I'm saying ultra again. I said ultra quite a few times last night, so I'll try not to say it again. Intensely quick. We've only got 6 cars in the DP class. Top 5 separated by half a second. Lewis Gallon, a 43.6 he has done. So a really quick lap from him. Clint Smith, a 43.9, and then we've got 43.1s for Wayne Burke, Gabriel Roos, and Sam Fitzpatrick. So really close in that class. But have a look at the times in the GTE class. Top 3 cars separated by under a tenth of a second. And we've got 2/10 separating the top 7. Wowee, that's
Yeah.
close.
It's incredibly close between all the field, and that's what we're going to see in this race as well, because it's only a short lap, so there's not many places for a quick driver to get an advantage over a good driver. So the entire field will be stacked together today, which will be very, very exciting when traffic starts to play in. But right now in qualifying, if you miss an apex by about half a millimeter, you may as well abandon your lap in this field. It is so close. It is incredible, and it's going to be like that all race, I hope.
Got a minute left in qualifying. David Lord out on track. He's the only driver out on track that has not put in a lap time. He just crosses the start-finish line, goes to the top of the times, and smashes the field in the GTE class by 0.3 of a second. So that nice, tight, close field we said is gone instantly.
Yeah, that's an incredible lap time by David there. He absolutely nailed that one. Fantastic. And he will lead that GTE class away, assuming no one else has any more laps to do. But it's a long race, and everyone will be able to hook onto the back of him with a slipstream. And we'll see if they can make anything happen in the race.
Entire GT3 field separated by 0.6 of a second as well. So very, very close in that class. But we'll go through the starting grid. Drivers get ready. Lewis Gallon, as we said, will lead the field away. He'll start from first with Clint Smith in P2, Wayne Burke in third, Gabriel Ruse in fourth, Sam Fitzpatrick in fifth, and Blake Neck will be the last car in the DP class.
In your GTE field, we're going to have David J. Lord leading the field with that storming lap with Stewie White just behind him. David Waldock, Darren Marsh, Leon Tander, and David Jellings are only a 10th behind there, so all incredibly close there, and it doesn't stop there with Eric Buda, Marco Apiera, Paul Mansell, Jacopo Kigoli, Ian Bird, Jacob Zazierski, Reese Gardner, Southpaw Racer, going to be lining up in that class as well, with Francisco Navas, Alan Opilok, and Andrea Antalongi rounding out that GTE field, sadly not setting a lap time.
We got Goy Zarzon and Scott Larnack. Then we've got Ross Rizzo, who's been the star performer in this series so far. Daniel Lufinate, Ryan Shelton, newly privateer, very familiar name in the V8 Supercar field. Brendan Jackson, Sean Thompson, and that is rounding out the field. We've got 29 cars in this race tonight. Only one driver didn't put in a time in qualifying, which is probably expected because these guys really want to make sure that they are in their right position before the racing gets underway, because it is so difficult to pass at this track. Anyone that's been on the iRacing service, done road racing, knows this track like the back of their hand, and it is definitely a tough track to pass in a slow car. In a fast car, it's even harder.
Yeah, absolutely. Most people have seen this track when they were way back in rookies in a Mazda MX-5 with about 200 odd horsepower. At the front of our grid right now, we have 650 brake horsepower at the back of those Corvette prototypes. So no one's going to have experienced this track just like they're about to in as the pace car rolls off now. So they're only a lap away from what's going to be, quite frankly, a terrifying race for these guys, holding on for dear life in those prototypes. But if you keep an eye on the pace car, that's going to be the only car in this entire field that will not take flight tonight. So it's going to be a very, very exciting race.
Yeah, amazing the air that gets under these cars coming up over the rise out of turn 5. Should be a fun race though. I'm glad the field is splitting up, but fingers crossed they don't split up too much, because it won't take long before we see your DPs onto the back of the GT3 cars. Interesting for time comparison, V8 Supercar does a lap here in about 51 seconds, so we're seeing the guys in the DP class do this track 8 seconds quicker. That's amazing.
Yeah, every single one of these cars is fantastically quick, unbelievably well tuned, and they've got fantastic drivers behind the wheel as well. And unfortunately, we all love our V8 Supercars, but these cars just make mincemeat of it. These cars are top of the line, and they're definitely much more suited to this track than you would expect a V8 Supercar to be. But our leaders now are just beginning to round the second last corner, side by side, and they're about to head down the hill towards the final corner, and we're about to get this intense race underway.
We're looking like around 60 odd laps for this race tonight. At 43, 44 seconds, there will be pit stops, I'm fairly sure. But
Luis Paulo Gallen backing the field up quite a lot for this start.
look at him jump. He's going to make sure he's got maximum speed coming into turn 1. And away they go. Great jump. Wayne Burke looking like he wants to get up the inside.
Oh, look at your GTE field. We've got 3 cars, 3 wide into turn 1. There's 2 lots of them, 3 wide into turn 1. There's going to be
it's
contact.
car
The
around.
22 of David Jellings has been gone around and he's collected more cars. Chaos at Lime Rock Park.
Say I'm not surprised is an understatement. We'll try and pick up a replay very soon. It looks like the GT3 field has got through okay, but they're now mixing into the middle or to the rear of the GTE field. I'm doing a great job tonight with my words. David Lord's leading the GTE field away. Side by side, the 28 there. Intanagi and Jerkson coming up over the rise. They've all made it through now, though. Trying to get a replay of what actually happened at turn 1, though. All the cars lined up across the track. Few cars involved there. It's very hard to pick out which cars were the ones involved. 3 into 2 and 1 doesn't quite work, though. Pretty sure when I went to school that was the mass that doesn't quite work. Been massive damage to the front of Sam Fitzpatrick's DP, and he's going very, very slow. Something's happened to him.
I did see at the end of the very first lap, there was actually a DP taken to the grass on the exit of the final corner, so perhaps that was Sam Fitzpatrick who's just struggling in this car a little bit. And you can just see, with the lap times as close as they are, even though he is incredibly fast driver in a very quick car, David J. Lord, your GTE class leader, isn't far behind, so all these classes aren't separated by much. So when we saw those GT3s at the start of the lap, mixing in with the GTEs, that's not going to be an uncommon sight in this race. With the pit stops taking place, we're going to have classes mixing up with each other more than we've seen previously in the series.
Darren Marsh and David Waldock side by side into turn 5. Oh, Marsh is on his roof! Wow!
Huge crash!
Big crash! That was massive. We'll get a replay of that for sure. But side by side, up the rise, car on the inside, I'm pretty sure, as I said, it was David Waldock. They actually got a little bit of understeer and gone straight up the track, made contact with Marsh, and sent him onto his roof. That was amazing.
Leon Tander had fantastic reactions to avoid all of that. That was an incredible job by him, but Marco Piero's made a huge amount of spots there with that incident, but that's very unfortunate for Darren Marsh, who was looking like he was going to be a big threat for this race.
He's now out of the race completely. We're only 3 minutes in.
It's actually gone even worse for Darren Marsh. He's actually collected Luis Paulo Gallon.
Yep.
So Marsh, when he was recovering, has hit Gallon, who has launched Marsh into the air. But
And Clint Smith as well.
So Wayne Burke is going to inherit the race lead in the DPs, and Luis Paulo Gallon, huge damage to that car. Clint Shane Smith in a similar boat. These are 2 very, very competitive guys who have been up the front of the DP class all season, and only 6 minutes into this race, and there's chaos.
Just saw the replay of that then. Darren Marsh went absolutely flying there.
We talked at the start of this program about cars getting air, but Darren Marsh taking it to extremes.
That was... I'm lost for words. We'll go back to the front of the field. So Wayne Burke now your race leader. Gabriel Roos in second. Blake Neck in third, and Sam Fitzpatrick is in fourth. With that damage to the front of his car, David Lord leading the GTE class and has a massive gap back to Stewie White. Marco Piero next, and then Leon Tander in fourth position.
Yeah, it's very, very spread out right now. There's cars everywhere, which is understandable with the amount of chaos we've seen. But the amount of chaos we have seen, it's actually meant that David J. Lord, who is leading your GTE field, is actually 5th overall as well. So he's very, very high up in that overall standings as well as the class standings. But just looking at a battle right now happening with the 20 car and the 12 car, Marco Piero, who benefited from that big crash with Darren Marsh. Leon Tander looks like he wants that position back. So
Oh,
he has a
big
big slide.
slide.
He spun! The commentator's curse out in full force, and he recovers it beautifully, but he's going to be dumping a bunch of spots.
He's dropped back to 7th in class, so he's lost 3 spots out of that. Actually did a good job. That was a pretty good line through the chicane layout. But Mansell, Buta and Gardner go through. So our man Reese Gardner, who's been pretty crook this week, he's decided to jump in and have a race. Be back on the air with us over the weekend. He's currently in 6th position in class. Gabriel Roos has started to take some time back out of Wayne Burke too, as they're coming through traffic now already. 5 minutes into the race and they're getting traffic. Oh, big moment for Roos.
He's using every inch of track and some. He's pushing so hard to get onto the back of Wayne Burke, and 3/10 on that lap. So Gabriel Roos has a lot of pace under that car. So Wayne Burke, who has been an incredibly electrifying driver in this series so far, has one heck of a task to hold back Gabriel Roos, who is absolutely flying right now.
He's driving with a bunch of commitment at the moment up to this amazing part of the track. You see how light the cars get coming up over the rise there. These two, now it's down to under half a second. And right into traffic at the wrong moment for Burke. Going to go past Sean Thompson fairly quickly. Actually got the leader in the GT3 class battling right on the back of the trailing cars in GT as well.
Look at Gabriel Roos. He's actually he's having a look up the inside of Wayne Burke as the two are trying to get through traffic.
Oh,
They're
this is
stuck
good.
behind Scott Larnack right now. And Roos has benefited hugely. Wayne Burke, I approve of the headlight flashing, but he does not approve of Scott Larnack right now. He lost so much time, and Gabriel Roos is all over the back of him now.
Going to be a fantastic battle for the rest of this race between these guys. They've both had a fair bit of bad luck in this series so far.
We've got a GT3 and a GTE going side by side into turn one, and now there's a Corvette prototype right behind them in for a mix as well, so you will get a true indication of the pace of all three classes right now. You can see the prototype so much quicker through the corners and also acceleration, but when it comes to top speed, the other cars aren't that much slower, but right now Wayne Burke having a tough time getting through these cars.
I knew the traffic was going to be really tough to get through, but even I'm surprised by how hard it is. Especially when you've got guys that are involved in their own battles as well. They don't want to be looking in their mirror while this is going on between Burke as, that off on the grass there, Shelton off on the grass trying to dodge these cars. Blake next started to catch up to these guys as well. Got Ian Bird facing the wrong way. Something's happened to Bird.
2.2 seconds. Blake next got that gap down to 1.1 seconds, and this car looks a little bit cleaner than the other two guys in front of him. Only a little bit of damage to next car, so he could potentially be a big threat in this battle.
Getting a replay of what happened to Ian Bird through turns 1 and 2. Bit of a mix-up on the track, and that coming back on. I'm not quite sure which car that was that took Bird out there, but Bird definitely got cleaned up. Go back live. We'll go back to the front of the DP class. Nothing between these guys now. Look at this. Big dive by Roos up the inside.
Oh,
Burke going to be able to come back? No. Roos takes the lead.
that was unbelievable. That was 110% commitment and 100% talent on the brakes there. He was sideways as he entered turn one. That was a huge move, and he executed it beautifully. Wayne Burke had no answer to that. And Gabriel Roos is going to take the class lead. And looks like we've got a little bit of chaos happening behind, because Blake Neck's actually lost the position to Sam Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, I was just about to say the exact same thing. Blake Neck was right behind Roos and Burke, and now he's about 3.5 seconds behind them, passing one of the Ferraris. Not sure which one that is, so go back to the front, because Burke's got a toe down the front straight. He's going to try and go back through. No. Thought about it.
Roos was getting sideways on the brakes there into turn one, and he loves to brake very, very late into that corner. It's paying off for him right now. If he didn't catch the VH Online broadcast last night of the Formula Renaults, there was a lot of slipstreaming happening on the front straight, many passes happening, and it looks like we've got the same thing happening all over again here at Lime Rock. There are cars constantly in the slipstream getting a huge advantage over the car in front, and we're going to get a lot of passes tonight, I think.
Laban Jellings just gets passed by the leading 3 DP cars. Day 3 now. There's another car around at turn 3. That's Marco Piera. Looks like he's been helped as well. He's got a fair bit of damage to the rear of that car. He's not looking too healthy at all. So I think that's race done for Piera.
It's a
to try and
shame
leave
'cause
it back to the pits.
He was running third in class, so
Yeah.
that's a big shame for Marco there.
So Paul Mansell now up to third and Leon Tander back into fourth after being involved in someone else's issue before. Looks like Pierre may have done this all by himself.
Oh, Reese Gardner has a huge moment at turn 5, almost taking out your race leader in DPs. Reese managed to keep it out of the wall, but that was a tank slapper and a half for Reese there.
Get a replay of that. We'll stay with the replay. You could see Pierre did end up getting involved with someone else as he tried to move off the track. The other car thought he was moving a bit quicker. Got Gardner on screen now with our replay. Burke's dropped a little bit of pace now from Ruse. Oh, that was a big moment for Gardner, and then with that slower car on the inside as well, that was rather scary.
Yeah, this is very scary, especially for Gabriel Ruse, who haven't seen him up at the front, like at the very front, in too many of these races, and he's doing a fantastic job right now, pulling away from Wayne Burke. Plenty of pace in that car, so to have Reese Gardner all crossed up in front of you while he's trying to get through slower traffic, it definitely would have made his heart rate jump up a little bit.
On board with Leon Tander, currently P4 in class, chasing down Paul Mansell, who is in third. Guys, nice and close. You can hear the ease of the throttle coming up over the hill. It's not a normal exit of a corner because you can't put your foot down at all. It'll just spin around on you as you go over the rise.
Yeah, not right now. They're playing it very cautious, but I think with only 5 minutes left to go in this race, if this is how the situation is, I think we're going to be see drivers tightening their seatbelts and going all out. As look at this, he thinks about it at turn 1, pulls out, just trying to get in Paul Mansell's head a little bit, but holds back and will stay behind for another lap. But it looks like Leon is just going to be starting to set himself up for a pass in the next few laps.
Coming up to some GT3s as well, so they'll try and use that for an advantage if possible. And a very good awareness. He was off the throttle really early there because he knew that that GT3 was ahead and potentially could get involved in a bad way.
You also have to think about GT3 right now, because up front we have Georgi Zarjan leading that class, but the top 3 are not separated by all that much. There's only about 2 seconds separating all 3 of those cars, and at the back of that field we have Ross Rizzo, who has been the form guy in this field so far this season. But he has 2 drivers in front of him right now, and this is looking like it could shape up to be an interesting fight in the next few laps.
That battle that we've been watching between Mansell and Tander, there's another car getting involved now too. Eric Boutier starting to come onto the back. That's going to make things nice and interesting there. As you said, Ross Rizzo's been a driver to watch in that he just knows how to stay out of trouble in this series. He's just bringing it home nice and straight, keeping it clean, and picking out good results just from doing so.
Yeah, sometimes that's all you have to do is just bring the car home to the finish, because to finish first, you first must finish, and he's been an expert at that so far this season. But if he's going to win this race tonight, he has a little bit of work to do, because there are 2 other cars in front of him who have also stayed out of trouble so far. It's a long race to go, still half an hour to go, so we're only a third into this race so far. But Ross Rizzo is definitely one to keep an eye on.
We're just coming up to a quarter race distance. We're on lap 19 for our race leaders, so the predictometer, as Reese and I have dubbed it, we're looking at 61 lap race here. That's amazing to think that you can do 60 laps at Lime Rock in 45 minutes. Amazing.
It is, but all these cars will be limited on fuel, so we will be expecting a pit stop. For your DP fueled cars who are leading this race, of course, we're expecting about 40 laps out of a tank. The GTE cars should get an extra lap out of them for 41 laps, and your GT3 cars will only be able to get 38 laps. So all these cars will be needing to take roughly 15 litres at the pit stop, so still plenty of strategy to play. So how the field looks right now, that may not be how it looks coming into this 45-minute race.
Looking at David Lord try and work his way through the traffic, so the front of the GT, big moment for Rizzo in the background, front of the GTE class now coming through the GT3 leaders, so it won't be long before we see the leaders in the DP class coming up to the back of these guys as well. Already lapped pretty much half the field. Have our Gabriel Roost, the rear left on the grass as he put his foot on the brake there. They're coming up to the back of into the middle of the GTE class already.
When I was doing my calculations for this race, I expected the faster car, the DPs, to be lapping the field at least twice. But the chaos this field has seen, I think we could be seeing it a lot more than that. There's plenty of traffic out there tonight. And let's hope it doesn't play too much of a factor in this race, but we know it always will.
Leon Tander's still managed to stick onto the tail of Paul Mansell. They've broken away from Eric Gutierrez, who like he's been caught up when the DPs have come past, and Tander and Mansell have got Ruse coming up very, very quickly. He'll probably pass them through turns 3 and 4.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll stick with this, and getting very, very close right now as we have 2 DPs heading towards turn 1 side by side. That is going to be Fitzpatrick on Burke, and Burke's been struggling for pace a little bit in the last few laps, so Fitzpatrick made pretty easy work of that. So Fitzpatrick's the man on a charge right now, and we'll see if he has any answer for Gabriel Roos, who's dumped away in your DP field by a long way now, 4.5 seconds up the road.
See how tough it is for all the DPs to get through these GTE cars. Good job from both Mansell and Tander to not actually be too compromised in saying that Tander's going to get a run here coming in the final corner. Won't be able to do it though.
Pretty terrifying move going on inside of the final corner. Can be done, but very, very risky, and he's having another look into turn 1. Those bright yellow headlights all in the back of Mansell's mirror, but he's keeping calm, he's keeping cool under pressure right now, so he's doing a very good job to keep Leon Tander behind him, who does look like a slightly quicker driver right now.
They've definitely pulled away from the rest of the field in the GTE class. David Lord, though, 4-second lead over Stewie White, and then 11 seconds back to these guys. So those front two are absolutely blitzing the rest of the field. Just noticing on the timing too, Wayne Burke has dropped back behind Sam Fitzpatrick, who is closing up on these guys. Oh, contact between Tander and Mansell. Mansell manages to straighten it up. There's a car on the apron of the inside of that corner. They've just got mess everywhere here.
Wayne Burke thread the needle so closely as Fitzpatrick was off the road there. Wayne Burke just slotted through a gap that didn't really exist, but he made it work. So Burke with a very, very risky ploy there, and it's paid off for him, but you don't want to be taking too many of those extra dangerous risks in this race, especially with so long to go in this race. So Burke's definitely giving it all he can, even if he doesn't have the pace right now.
Yeah, he's now 5.5 seconds behind Gabriel Roos. A lot of time to catch up. Fitzpatrick's dropped pretty much a second behind now. Lakeneck's still rolling along. He's still going out there. He's about 5 seconds behind Fitzpatrick, a little bit off the pace. But Tander and Mansell, I think, is the battle to watch at the moment. These guys have kept it nice and close. They've had a little bit of a rub. Good to watch.
Yeah, racing would be nothing without a bit of rubbing. As to say, rubbing is racing. So these two are pulling out all the stops they can to get past one another, but Mansell doing a very good job to hold Tander off right now. So he's doing a very good job, but it is allowing Eric Buter to actually close up quite a lot on them two now.
Eric's starting to close up and saying that now that they're out of the traffic and the DP cars coming back through, they're pulling back away once more. Was coming up to start their 26th lap of the race. Amazing how quick this has gone already. We're not even at halfway.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to think it's only been 20 minutes in this race so far, but we've seen so many laps and so much carnage and action happening already. So pretty excited to see what the second half of this race does have in store for us, especially with the strategy element coming into it. And as you said, quite a lot of battles beginning to heat up, including Mansell and Tander, and seeing if Fitzpatrick has any answer for Wayne Burke right now.
David Lord now 5.8 second gap from him back to Stewie White, who is second in that class. But Mansell and Tander are going to go at it again into turn 1. I don't think Tander's quite close enough. Got a GT3 car ahead. I think that's Ryan Shelton.
Oof. Mansell nearly into the back there of the Shell Helix Mercedes AMG there. And that was compromised his X a little bit, so Tander's very, very close to him now. He's not going to be able to try anything into turn 5. But Mansell getting a little bit impatient behind that GT3 car right now, so perhaps the pressure that Tander's put on the back of him right now is beginning to show. And the GT3 off into the grass in front of the man. Oh, look at that!
Sorry, that's Tander into the fence. And was there a little bit of contact between he and, I think that was Wayne Burke coming through?
I think that might have been Blake Neck, but
okay.
both Mansell and Tander now into the pits. I think Mansell might have been scheduled, but Tander definitely not, as there's big damage to the left-hand side of that Ferrari 488. So big drama as the multi-class racing once again gets another victim.
A replay of that. Exactly what happened. 3 classes all trying to get past the slowest class driver. A little bit of netcode contact there between Blake Neck and Leon Tander, so I don't think Neck's actually at fault there. I think that's just internet racing being internet racing, sadly. Go back live.
One of those unfortunate facts we all have to deal with sometimes, and especially when we get put in a Euro server, which has been a little bit controversial with this series, but it has provided a few interesting moments in this race so far, and I'm sure it won't be the last we see of some multi-class racing getting a bit close and a bit heated at times.
Ross Rizzo's dropped a fair bit behind Daniel Bufonte. Around about 4.5 seconds back now. He was about 0.8 of a second for a long, long time.
Outright race leader Gabriel Roos dives into the pits, relinquishing the lead to Wayne Burke. But strategy beginning to play a factor in this race now, as that's our second car to pit this race.
So pretty much at halfway now for Roos. Lap 30 these guys are on.
A pretty incredible race pace that they've actually had so far. Of course, we had pole times in the 44s for some of these cars and 43s, and the race pace hasn't been much slower either. So all these guys really, really pushing, and it's interesting to see if anyone's actually fuel saving in this race, because if you fuel save just a little bit around this track, you can get quite a few extra laps because it is such a short lap. But right now, the race pace is incredible, and I don't think anyone's going easy.
Wayne Burke's trying to get past Sean Thompson here, and we'll be able to get it done through turns 1 and 2. Gap at the front of GTE is stretching out even further. David Lord now 7.5 second gap back to Stewie White, who has Wayne Burke right on his tail.
It'll be interesting to see how this happens now. If Wayne Burke responds to the pit stops taking place so far, or if he continues, and it looks like he's going to be going around once again. So Wayne Burke trying to extend any kind of advantage he can over Gabriel Roos, who was pitted in that class. But Roos looks like he's in a very dominant position in the DP field right now, as does David Lord, who still has a very nice gap over Stewie Wyatt.
David Lord's gap is actually growing now at 8.1 seconds and going further. So Lord's gaining around about half a second a lap at the moment. Last lap by a 46.1 versus a 45. So 0.3 last lap, and I think this lap will be the same or more once again.
Another 46.1, so Lord's running some ridiculously consistent lap times now. His last 4 laps were all within a 1/10 of a second, and with the lead he's got, he can just be comfortable now, focus on the job at hand, and I don't think anyone's going to be able to stop him right now unless more carnage happens in this IMSA field.
Last lap for Stewie White was a 46.7, so a little bit. Oh, big moment for Lord though, coming up over the hill and over the jump. Looked like he was going to send it into the wall. Little heart attack moment for him there.
I was only just saying how well he was doing, so nearly the commentator's curse for a second time from me tonight, so I'm just going to shut up, Jay, it's all you. But,
no. If anyone's good at the commentator's curse, it's me, so... Leon Tander's looks like he's officially out of the race, as is Reese Gardner, Ian Bird, Francisco Navas, Clint Smith, Lewis Gallon and Darren Marsh. All those guys are now officially out of the race.
To bring the attention back to the DP field just quickly, I've noticed Gabriel Roos, before he pitted, had quite a large lead over Wayne Burke, about, I think it was about 5 or 6 seconds. And since that pit stop phase, Burke has actually extended the gap to Gabriel Roos just a little bit. He's taken about 1.5 seconds out of them out of Roos right now. So it'll be interesting to see when Burke takes his pit stop, how close he is to Gabriel Roos. Because Burke's putting in some pretty nice lap times right now compared to Roos, who's a bit stuck in traffic.
Yeah, this lap around, Burke's just on a 44.7, 45.7, 45.9 for Neck, 45.7 for Fitzpatrick, and Roos about to come across the line.
45.4.
By 4, so 7 tenths. All starting to help him.
And Burke is actually coming up to quite a few cars right now. He's got a few he's got a GT3 and a GTE in front of him, but once he can clear those 2 cars, he's actually got quite a nice bit of clear track. So if Burke could just get his head down and continue to pump out these laps, Gabriel Roos might have a little bit to worry about, as he has to hit the brakes as he goes past the 26 around turn 5. That was very, very close for Roos, and he's just trying to play the safety game right now, because he did have that little lead, but Burke is doing a big effort right now to take time out of him.
Lap time of Roos time around. Last lap 44.6 versus a 45.0. So another 4 tenths of a second gain for Wayne Burke that lap. Interesting, these races against the clock. They sometimes play in very, very bizarre ways at the end. So the gap at the moment is 28 seconds. And Burke and Roos. Total time in the pit lane for Roos was 24.2 seconds. Burke can be quicker than that for his total time in the pit lane when he makes his stop in the next couple of laps. It will get really, really close between these two at the end.
Yeah, and we've seen how feisty Wayne Burke can be when it comes to racing other cars in class. So if he does come out just a second behind Roos, or anything close to that, he's going to get a sense of that blood, and he's going to be on a mission to chase him down. But Gabriel Roos, who had an okay lap time last time around, he's actually managed to gain some time back on Burke. But it's going to get interesting as these pit stops begin to cycle through, and that's not just for DP as well. We've also got your GT3 field that could get quite interesting, as the leaders have actually spread out a little bit, and Scott Larnack actually in the pits right now. But all these fields, all these classes, sorry, could get pretty interesting with just 10 minutes to go.
That time around, Gabriel Roos has just responded to 44.5 for Burke, 44.6 for Roos, so pretty much the same time. Won't be long before we see Burke pit. David Lord on screen. Got about 10-second gap, well now down to 9 seconds between he and Stewie White. It's been a little bit held up leading up to this top phase for the cars E-Class who have pitted. Not all yet.
By my calculations before the start of the race, the cars are currently working lap 39 in DP field. I thought they could only get a maximum of...
Blake Neck spun coming into the pits. Sorry to cut you off there, Bo.
No worries, absolutely. Go for it. But yeah, we're working lap 39 right now. I thought the DP cars would only be able to get 40 laps. So if Wayne Burke isn't in on this lap, we'd expect him to be in on the next lap. And he will be going around once again, so perhaps getting all the laps he can out of that tank. And the same applies for your GTE field, who should only be able to get around 41 laps out of a tank. So we'll expect them in at about 2 or 3 laps, as they're obviously a few laps down. But it's all about to get very, very interesting in the pit lane for a lot of these classes.
And Fitzpatrick now in the pits as well in the in the DP class. So David Lord now has a 36-second gap back to Eric Boutet. And then Stewie White, who has made his pit stop from second position, just behind P3 in class. But I'm predicting Lord will still have around about a 10 to 12 second gap when he comes out of the pits.
Wayne Burke in the pits as I expected, so he's run that tank out to the absolute maximum we can. The gap between him and Roos has gone out by another 5 tenths. So I expect Roos to still take the race lead in your DP class, but don't be surprised if it's any more than 5 seconds. It could be quite close, as Roos just coming around turn 6 now through the extremely fast downhill turn 7. Coming down the front straight now, Burke at the very end of the pit lane, he's underway, leaving the pits, but Roos will resume the lead, but Wayne Burke is not far behind.
That gap has definitely shrunk. It's around about 3 seconds. Live timing updates to be 1.8 it's saying, so that's even closer than I was expecting. Then if we could get under 24 seconds for his pit lane time, 23.6. We gained about 0.6 of a second in the lane, and those really good lap times before the pit stops meant he's right there now.
Yeah, big effort from Burke, and like I said before, now that he can actually see Gabriel Roos just in front of him, that's going to be even more motivation for him just to push those extra 10 tenths just a little bit more. And as I was saying, he's 2 wheels in the dirt, maximum commitment through the final corner. He is on a mission. It might only be a bit over a second right now. Don't be surprised if that gap comes down very, very quickly.
Actually thinking he was going to spin it there. All the commitment levels were very, very high coming through the final corner. Great job to hold on, and he's gained a 10th as well now. For 1.7.
And there's still 13 minutes to go. That might not sound like much, but for Gabriel Roos, that's going to be the longest 13 minutes of his life.
It's still 20 laps.
Yeah, you can still fit a lot of laps around Lime Rock Park.
Big slide for Burke. He is absolutely leaving everything out there. He's going to try absolutely everything he's got to try and get this gap down to nothing. David Lord's made his stop. Sorry, David Lord's made his stop now. 16.7 second lead he has in GTE. Ross Rizzo is in the pits and has just been passed by Zazon. So I thought Rizzo might have been able to jump. He's actually going to jump into P2 by the looks. Yeah, Rizzo's come out, he's jumped a spot in the pit, so well done from Rizzo. Same with Roos and Burke though. Sorry, mate.
No, go for it. Only about 4 seconds between Zarjon and Rizzo, so we'll see how that gap goes. But Wayne Burke, as Roos gets stuck in traffic slightly on the exit of that final corner, Wayne Burke, as we saw before, is giving it absolutely everything he's got. And I just wonder if he's just overdriving the car a little bit right now. When you're trying to push, sometimes you can overdrive a little bit, ask a bit too much of the car, and you actually start slowing yourself down. I wonder if he's just beginning to suffer from that a little bit. And right now, they've both got traffic as they head through this S section towards the fast turn 5, but Wayne Burke is definitely going to start getting Gabriel Roos quite worried.
Yeah, Roos will be definitely watching in his mirror because he can see the gap closing up. And I know Burke will definitely be trying to give him a little bit of a flash from the distance too. Making sure he knows he's there. He's down to 1.3 seconds now. But Roos didn't do a fantastic job getting past the Ferrari there. I'm not quite sure who that just come past. Maybe Paul Mansell, I think.
Yes, it is, the 16 car. But it's also just the timing of the traffic as well. We saw Gabriel Roos get stuck behind that Ferrari around turns 2 and 3, whereas Wayne Burke just fly past with that extra power down the main straight. So 1.2 seconds, most of that gap has all came down due to traffic. And that may not be the last we see of traffic either. We've got about a bit more clear track for about probably 5 more corners of this Lime Rock Park circuit, and then we're back in the traffic.
That was way too committed there from Burke. I thought he was going to slide up there into the fence, but wow, did a great job there. I thought that was race done.
No such thing as too much commitment, and I think Wayne Burke is showing that right now.
Lovely the lap time that these guys have just done. Roos has done pretty much identical to his best lap time. Burke's just done his fastest lap of the race. 44.2s for both of these guys.
0.02 of a second is all that was separated between those two. And right now, Burke is going to be taking every single one of those thousands. As let's see how committed he is over turn 5 again. He had the rear end slightly dancing on the entrance of that corner there, so he's definitely using all the air of that car. He's using all the curb there and a bit of grass too, so he's turning that Corvette into a lawnmower so quick through that final corner. Roos is benefiting from the slipstream of Scott Larnack as they head towards turn 1. and makes that move stick. So now it's actually going to be Burke who's going to suffer from traffic, and Roosh is going to be able to extend that lead a little bit. But he still has that task of holding Burke back once Burke gets past.
Big advantage for Burke is that the traffic already knows that the leader's there, so they'll be watching out for that second place car coming through. So Burke's going to have the advantage, regardless of where he passes these cars, of these cars knowing that the leaders are coming through. They'll also check the timing and see that the leaders are close and go, geez, I better get out of this battle. 1.6 seconds now, so Burke did lose a bit of time there. These guys are fully committed though.
Yeah, this is insane stuff. This race is just hitting them, as it always does in this IMSA series. We're a bit worried about the standards of racing we might get around Lime Rock Park because it is such a short circuit. But right now, the standards of excitement are through the roof as Wayne Burke, who lost that time in that traffic now, has clean track for a long, long time now. And Gabriel Roos actually isn't too far away from a big gaggle of cars. The 27 and the 19 just in front. So traffic is coming in thick and fast for these DP class leaders.
Last lap round, 44.4 for Roos, 44.8 for Burke. We did see a little bit of time lost there for Berkey. Roos, probably the worst spot on the track that you can pass the car coming through the final corner. Compromised exit speed. That will definitely hurt speed coming into this corner here. Burke will dive up the inside into turn 1. Probably the best place to make a pass.
Last time around, Gabriel Roos on a 44.7, Wayne Burke 44.4, so 3/10 back into Wayne Burke's pocket from 1.5 down to 1.2. Wayne Burke is giving it everything he's got, and look at what we have in front of Gabriel Roos. It's more traffic, and they're trying to get past one another as well, so it's not going to be an easy pass for Gabriel Roos, and especially into this final corner. Those two GT cars are going to think about side by side. They hold back. That is going to hurt Roos's exit speed, and Wayne Burke should be able to get these cars into turn 1.
If not, he'll be able to slingshot past them into turn 2. They're actually going to pass each other as well. Burke may not be able to get it done, and they've made a mistake too, so Burke don't get held up here as they're both side by side trying to get past each other.
Oh, Wayne Burke just throwing it around the outside. Big slide from Burke. He is in the marbles. He's got no
big contact.
The 18 goes around. So contact there for Wayne Burke. And the 18 does look like it has kept going, but Daniel Lafonte is now going to be under pressure from Ryan Shelton. But
yeah.
Wayne Burke, that might be the nail in the coffin there, as Gabriel Roos extends that lead by a huge chunk.
Get a replay of that so we can see all of the action leading up to that incident. All the cars side by side coming through turn 2.
That's blown out to 3 seconds now, so that's hurt Burke considerably.
Burke's thought that Monte was actually staying wide to let him through and taking the natural line, so I don't know who you'd say is at fault there, because I think Burke actually thought that something was going to happen there that didn't. In saying that, Burke's closing back up. It was out to 3.2 seconds, now into 2.3 once again. Burke's not giving up.
And look at Roos, he is stuck behind the number 4 car of Georgian Zazo, your GT3 class leader, through that final corner. So his top speed's going to be down at the end of the straight, 260 kilometers an hour. Wayne Burke nearly 270. So much better exit for Burke, more time gained, 1.5 seconds. That gap has been halved.
Have a look at Ross Rizzo too. Rizzo's closed up on Zarzon in the last couple of laps too. We've missed that. It's down to, well, it was under 1 second just before these DP cars come through. At 1.2 at the moment, so we've got 2 really good class battles. Burke side by side gets it done. Hasn't hurt him too much in time.
We have to remember that Rizzo and Zajon, that gap was out to 6 seconds at one point, and you can literally, on your screen right now, see that gap diminishing as they head through turn 6. That was probably 3/10 in a single corner for Rizzo. He is all over the back of Zajon in a matter of laps at this rate.
About 8 laps left in this race, 5 minutes on the clock. Ross Rizzo at the moment is the one to watch. The gap first and second in the DP class staying stable around 2.3 seconds. But Rizzo is right there, he's in the draft. He is catching Zarzon, and very quickly.
Yeah, this isn't a slow closing rate, this is huge. Perhaps Zajon has underfueled his car a little bit. We're not too sure in that situation right now, but this is going to get very, very interesting. Only 5 minutes left on the clock, and Rizzo is all over the back as he's 2 wheels in the air, 2 wheels in the grass, a little bit of everything as he's doing everything he can to close on the number 4 car.
Rizzo's definitely not holding back here. He wants to get this class win. Leaving it all out there. 2.4 seconds now. The gap at the front of the DP class.
But Gabriel Roos has a lot of traffic, and by a lot, I mean 4 cars. So he's got one Ferrari in front of him, another one ahead, and then another one ahead, and then a GT3. So lots of traffic for Roos to negotiate. And if there's any kind of incident between those GTE cars, touch wood, then he's going to be in a lot of trouble being that close. Don't go 3 wide. Don't think about it. You've got a fantastic race lead right now. Don't think about Wayne Burke. Get on the power. Just get through them one at a time. He plays a smart card. Wayne Burke on the headlights. Love it. But he needs to get past this traffic as fast as he can. As the Ferraris are going to... the Ferrari dives the Mercedes into turn 1. Nearly into the back of Burke there. There is so much traffic here, but... if you go back to your GT3s, Zarjon still holding on ahead of Rizzo, but Zarjon does not have the entry to turn 1 that Rizzo has. Every time in a turn 1, Rizzo has so much more turn in that Pro Force Racing Mercedes, and this is still going to be on for young and old. And as it is in your DP field, as Wayne Burke gets another Ferrari down a lap, 2 wheels in the grass, down to 0.8 of a second. And we're probably still going to have 5 more laps of this fantastic race. And 5 laps, that's going to be a long time for Gabriel Roos.
Yep, he's going to have one eye in the mirror, one eye ahead. Enjoying these couple of moments where he's not having to maneuver around traffic. Under 3 minutes on the clock now, so 5 laps to go, we're fairly sure.
In that time, they've still got a little bit of traffic to deal with. And you can see now, heading into turn 5, probably the quickest corner on the circuit, bar the final turn. And Gabriel Roos has been held up an absolute treat there by that Ferrari. And we'll see how Wayne Burke gets past, if he gets past pretty easily. Looks like he'll dive it up to the inside of turn 7. Very high speed, but that's even more time gained for Wayne Burke. He might be able to get the slipstream at this point.
The lap times that these guys are doing, our predictometer's not too sure how many laps. Now saying 5 laps to go. We're going to go 61 laps in this race, they're thinking.
Oh, Zarjon has traffic. That's Sean Thompson, whose teammate is attacking Zarjon right now. Thompson did not let Zarjon go pretty easily. He's going to stay ahead of Zarjon, so look at the gap between him and Rizzo. This is nothing now. So Sean Thompson helping his teammate out a treat, gets out of the way now, but he has done no favors at all to Zarjon. Lets his teammate go as easy as you like, so that battle in your GT3 field has closed up an absolute treat.
Great battle from both of the classes at the moment. David Lord has a 35-second gap in the GTE class, so great drive from him. Sorry for not focusing too much on him because GT3 and DP has been well and truly on. Gabriel Roos now 1 second between he and Burke. Last lap around 44.1. Fastest lap of the race for Roos.
Yep, so Gabriel Roos now has a 1 second lead with potentially 3 laps to go. But in front of him, there is still more traffic. There's 3 cars and slubber classes ahead of him. And that's going to help him out a lot as we go back to GT3. Rizzo darting left and then right behind Zarjon, filling his mirrors up all the time with that GTI-sponsored Mercedes. And if he gets any kind of mistake from Zarjon, he's going to pounce on that in a second. Firing through turn 5, both lifting up in the air, like we said before. Before they were being a bit cautious around there. Now it's absolutely tighten your seatbelts and hope for the best as you throw it around that corner and then up the crest. And now Rizzo doing what Wayne Burke was doing earlier. Zarjon darting left and right, break the slipstream if possible. And he's trying his best to hold on to that position, but look at Rizzo into turn 1. So much more confidence in that front tyres of that Mercedes. He closes in once more, but Zarjon does have position right now. And Gabriel Roos has got that gap out to a second, but not now. Burke. He hasn't.
This is the last lap of the race. They've got 12 seconds on the clock, so this will be the last race. Ignore the on-screen saying 2 to go. It is the last lap of the race. Burke is right there.
3/10 of a second.
Oh, big moment for Roos.
Mistakes from both of them. Burke had 2 wheels on the dirt, and Roos was 2 wheels sideways. And look, traffic, that's your GTE race leader. That's David Lord. He gets out of the way now, but they've got track. That's a Mercedes. Can they get past? Roos throws up the inside, might not be
Here comes
smart.
Burke.
Oh, big crash
crash
with Mercedes in the
behind.
background, but we have to keep our eyes on Wayne Burke. He thinks about the inside. He has to pull out of a big slide there.
That was Daniel
Has that hurt him?
Alfonte.
I think that might be done for Wayne Burke, but what
My
a
God.
finish.
What a race. Gabriel Roos picks up the win. Official gap at the line is 0.3 of a second. Rizzo still right there. May be able to get this move done. Congratulations to David Lord for picking up the win in the GTE class, but GT3 is still on.
Rizzo was so committed through turn 5 there. 2 was in the air, 2 was in the grass, carrying a lot of speed into turn 6. He only has one more chance to get a good exit, which is turn 7. He has to hope for a mistake from Zarjan, but Zarjan keeps cool under pressure and will take victory in your GT3 class in an absolutely incredible display in the IMSA Sports Car Championship. Zarjan fires it down the escape road, and that's probably the only safe place on this track.
Well done from those guys. Well done to David Lord. Well done to Roos and Burke for putting on an awesome show. Wow, I'm out of breath. What a race.
That was absolutely insane. 45 minutes, and it comes down to 0.3 of a second in nearly 2 classes. Can you believe it?
That's amazing. We'll run through the results in the DP class. Gabriel Roos, 0.3 of a second over Burke. Fitzpatrick in 3rd. Blake Neck 4th. And DNFs for Clint Smith and Lewis Gallon, unfortunately, with that incident early in the race.
In your GTE field, it was a massively dominating display from David J. Lord. In 2nd, it's going to be Andrea Antogini. Sorry for destroying your last name, but he had a fantastic drive, starting last in class, not setting a qualifying time, and he's going to end up 2nd. Oh, sorry, I've got my results backwards. Sorry.
Right, second. Actually.
Loving it. Stewie White comes home 2nd. Paul Mantle in 3rd. Andrea Antogini from last comes into 4th place. So a fantastic drive still from him. Eric Buter comes home 5th with David Waldock, Jacob Jazierski, Alan Oppilock, David Jellings, and Jacopi Kigoli coming home 10th. Leon Tander, Reese Gardner, Marco Piera, Francisco Navas, Ian Bird, and Darren Marsh all unfortunately getting caught up in accidents.
T3 field. Zarzon in the end, 1.2 seconds, but it was down to 0.2 of a second at the end of that race between he and Ross Rizzo. Great drive from both those guys. Got Larnack next. Comes home 3rd in class, and driver that we saw into the wall as the DP class was coming through. Ryan Shelton ended up in 5th position. Don Thompson, Jackson ran that field. Lime Rock definitely put on a show for us.
Yeah, we thought it was going to be chaos, but I still don't think any of us ever expected that kind of a race. That was edge of your seat. Absolutely fantastic racing. What we love to see, and let's hope for more of it next week.
Yeah, off to Spa next week for our equal longest race for the series, second 75-minute race. So it should be a fantastic one. Thank you for jumping in the booth with me once again, Bo. Appreciate it.
No worries. Absolutely loved it.
Back on screen on Saturday night for the Australian Sprint Car Championship. Sunday night we'll have Porsche Carrera Cup Australia, and Monday night for the V8 Supercar Official Series. V8's and Lions coverage of Thursday night on IMSA. We'll see you next time.